Whiplash is a 2014 film that is directed and written by Damien Chazelle. The movie is about a young 19-year-old Andrew Neiman's journey as a drummer. He enrolls in the Schaefer Conservatory of Music, where he meets his new teacher, Terrence Fletcher, who physically and mentally puts his musicians through hell to uphold the college reputation as the top-ranked music college in the country. The movie is about the journey that Neiman takes to cement himself as a drumming legend. At its core, Whiplash is about the role of ambition in art, and about whether or not it's worth being known as one of the greats if you have to make steep sacrifices in order to achieve that goal. By the end of the movie, it is strongly implied that Neiman achieved his goal of making a name for himself in the jazz industry. However, in the process, he had to tank his relationship with his father and his girlfriend, as well as suffer heavy abuses at the hands of Fletcher. Ultimately, it is strongly implied that Neiman will become a drumming legend, but will constantly suffer from anxiety, ultimately dying young from suicide or a drug overdose. Whiplash is composed by Justin Hurwitz, who happened to play in the same jazz band as Damien Chazelle when they were teenagers. Because of this, Chazelle and Hurwitz worked together on all of the same projects, with Chazelle directing and Hurwitz composing. So far, 3 of the 4 movies he composed, Guy and Mandolin on a Park Bench, Whiplash, and La La Land, have all had scores that were heavily jazz dependent. While the movies that Hurwitz have composed were mainly indie films, after Whiplash won 3 Oscars, Hurwitz has gained some notoriety for his work. There is an issue to how to interpret the music in the scene that we're about to show, because unlike most of the score, whether it's diegetic or not is a lot murkier. However, I do believe that the score for the scene is still jazz. I think that Neiman is mentally playing his drumming part for Caravan, the song that he'll be playing for the competition, while he's on the bus and heading to that competition. However, when Neiman is later put on the clock and has to go back to the rental place to grab his sticks, I think the drums are actually from the practicing that Connolly is doing while Neiman's away. And that practicing is being played over the scene to show symbolically how Neiman is stressed about getting back.
Now, whether or not this is actually diegetic is a lot more murkier. However, in my opinion, I believe that music that's being played is coming from a source within the movie. Even if the main character doesn't hear it, I count that as diegetic. However, it is up to the viewer to determine whether or not it's diegetic or not.
Alrighty, now let's get started. For context, Neiman is on his way to a competition where he will be the lead drummer. So the score for this scene has drums as a timbre and is at an allegro speed, because Neiman is most likely hearing this music in his head as he's practicing his part in the competition. However, you can also hear there's some dissonant undertones, which will segue into the next part of this scene. Now we're going to see that the bus has popped a tire, and Neiman is going to have some more trouble getting to the competition. So you're going to hear some strings and horns added into the scene, which makes this music fully dissonant, as now Neiman is super stressed out trying to get to the competition on time.
Hey, excuse me, do you know where the cabs are?
No, you gotta call the cab.
I know, but they said the cab's supposed to be right here?
No, you gotta call them. Then they're gonna say forever.
Okay, how do I get to Hargrove? Hey, come on, please, come on, you're still open. You're still open, come on.
Now everything cuts to silence as Neiman confronts Fletcher. This happens in most intense scenes with Fletcher and Neiman, as this adds to the tension between the two and makes the scene as a whole more intense. When Fletcher brings up that Neiman lost his sticks, Neiman's stress starts to rise, and now the strings are added back into the scene. From then on, the pitch on the strings gets higher and higher until the tension spikes with Fletcher's ultimatum: come back with the sticks in 11 minutes and play perfectly, where failing gets Neiman kicked out of the band, or just let Connolly play Neiman's part. Neiman, in his pride and ambition to become the core member of the band, accepts Fletcher's challenge.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
Well, glad you could fit us into your busy schedule, darling.
I know, look, I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm here, I'm ready to go.
Connolly's playing the part.
Yeah, like fucking hell.
Usually it's somebody that has fucking sticks.
I left him in the car, I'll be right back. Take me 5 minutes.
I'm warming up the band now.
Look, I can use Ryan's sticks. It's not
Neiman,
that-
you lost the fucking part.
No, I didn't. Look, you can't fucking do this, Karen.
5:30, that's in exactly 11 minutes. My band is on stage. If your ass is not on that stool with your own fucking sticks in hand, or if you make one fucking mistake, I will drum your ass back to Nassau where you can turn pages until you graduate or fucking drop out. By the time you're done at Schaefer, you're gonna make Daddy look like a fucking success story. Got it? Or we can let Johnny Utah play the part. You choose.
That's my part. I'll be on your stage. Fuck.
You got 10 minutes.
We go back to the drums being used, as well as some horns and strings. The drums are meant to show how Neiman's sole focus is on making it back in time to play the part, while the horns and strings are used to give dissonance to the piece in order to ramp up the tension and to show how Neiman is going slightly erratic. All of this points to Neiman being heavily distracted on his way back to the competition, which will end up being his ultimate downfall.
Hey, tell Fletcher I'm coming.
What the fuck is taking you so long, man? We're moving on stage right now.
I know. I got locked in my car. It's fine. I got locked in my car. I'm coming.
Left turn, 200 feet.
Are you driving, man?
No.
What the hell was that noise?
Okay, look. Why don't you just tell Fletcher that I'm coming, you motherfucker?
Now when Neiman gets hit by the other car, the music slowly cuts out, and we get a long stretch of silence as Neiman gets out of the car and heads to the auditorium. Again, this is a common trope as the drama of the scene speaks for itself. However, the music picks back up to the horns and drums that were being played before as Neiman gets closer to the competition, with the pitch getting higher and higher as Neiman's getting more and more worried that he cannot play the part due to his injuries. We now start the competition with the band playing Caravan. This piece is very allegro, which was important because in the last scene, Neiman gave his blood, sweat, and tears in order to keep up with the tempo to become the main drummer for this piece. So he has a lot of personal connection to it, which is why he was so upset when his part was going to get taken away from him. Now, because Neiman has hands injured in the crash and most likely has a concussion as well, the song is most likely being played wrong. How exactly, I'm not entirely sure. But what I do know is that Neiman makes a mistake with the cymbal crashing when he drops the sticks. Eventually, the timbre for Caravan loses the drums because Neiman can't play the kit anymore. Fletcher ends the song prematurely, leading to silence as Neiman gets kicked off the band, and Neiman ultimately responds by tackling Fletcher. The final thing to note is that Caravan, the song, comes back later in the movie as Neiman uses it to prove himself as the ultimate drumming legend.
Neiman. You're done.
Shit! I'll fucking kill you!
As you can see, Whiplash uses the score of this scene mainly as a way to heighten the tension of the race that Neiman engages in order to get to the competition on time, as well as provide insight into his growing ambition that allows him to disregard every other part of his life, including his health, foreshadowing his eventual fall into madness by the end of the movie. The dissonance only helps perpetuate the feeling of unease and intensity that can be felt throughout the movie, which helps it feel more like a thriller than anything else.